and I started working with kids. And I met this teenager who was like, I would like you to adopt me. And and I guess that's what we'll get into. I remember that the vice president of the company I worked for like pulled me into my office and she was like, I don't believe in gays adopting and I want you to stop this nonsense.
Wow.
It's like, is this real? If you've ever experienced like racism or sexism or homophobia or something like that, sometimes when it's happening directly in front of your face, you're almost not even aware. You're like, is this real? I went to like my director and she was just like, yeah, you can't adopt. And I was like, well, I can. I was the first single gay man to legally adopt in the state of Florida.
Wow.
When you tell somebody you have kids, they're like, oh, well, I'm not ready to be a father. And I'm like, well, I'm not asking you to be a father. You can be daddy. They never had a problem with the gay or homosexuality thing. I have never met a kid who was like, I have a problem that you're gay.
Yeah.
I firmly believe hate is taught, and some kids are not in a place long enough to be taught hate. A couple of years ago, I got linked up with One Magical Weekend, and we rent out Disney's Typhoon Lagoon. Anybody can come, all body types. It's the coolest thing when you and like 7,000 of your friends are at a water park having a blast at night.
Do you observe that there are some people who are struggling with socialization?
100, I love socializing, 100%. And I've been doing a lot of videos about it lately because so many people have been coming to me saying, how do you just meet people? I think there's 3 steps to meeting somebody. I think one of the easiest ways to socialize is familiarity.
Any tips on how to approach someone at the gym?
My friends call me the straight guy whisperer. I believe Miami is like the mecca of beautiful people and hot bodies. And wherever you're from, you could be a 9 wherever you are. But when you go to Miami, you're a 3.
Hi, I'm Azamat, founder of Friends of Dorothy. At today's episode, we have Joe Adorno, gay dad, owner of YOLO Mentoring, and One Magical Weekend host. Hi, Joe.
Hi, how's it going?
Good. Joe, you usually start by asking our guests to tell us a little bit about themselves.
So awesome. Well, hi, everybody. Joe Adorno here. I live in Orlando, Florida. Good luck finding me. I had a typical like upbringing and a good life, but then I wanted to kind of just I had this idea that I was like, I could do anything and everything. So I went to college, I got a bachelor's in psychology, and then I worked a little bit in the field. I worked for, I ended up taking some time off and I worked for Disney and Universal Studios and, did parades and had a good time and just did the magic. And then I decided, all right, well, I want to like work in my field. And then I went to work and I got my master's in social work. And then I started working with kids and I met this teenager who was like, I would like you to adopt me. And I I guess that's what we'll get into. And then it was just an uphill struggle ever since then because just the discrimination. And then I ended up adopting. I got my master's and then I quit my job and I started my own company. And I've been working with kids ever since. And then I adopted 2 more kids and, they're like potato chips. You can't just have one. And then I was like, I just want to live my best life. I want to be, fun and be out there and still be a dad and still try and be in the scene and still work out and still cook. And I trying to do everything. But I'm really enjoying my life and I have a good time. And I want to share a lot of my experiences with people.
Wow, that's amazing. In my head, there are already so many topics that I want to cover. But let's take it one step at a time. So being a dad, right, and adopting. So I'm a single gay dad myself.
Cool.
Oliver and I, we were married for 8 years, and we got our daughter by surrogacy. She's now already 6 years old. I'm very curious to learn about your journey. How did it all happen?
Well, I always knew like I was going to adopt. Like I'm not ruining this body. So I always wanted to adopt kids, but I didn't want like babies. That's just I'm not changing diapers. I'm not getting on the floor to like crawl around with somebody. But when I started my work, I'm a social worker by nature, and I started my career working with the homeless, and it didn't feel completely right at first. And then I transitioned over to working with the Department of Juvenile Justice and working with juvenile offenders. And I was like, okay, this feels a little bit more Right. And then I got a job working for the Department of Children and Families and working with kids that have been abused, exploited. I saw so many kids that came from homes that were just broken families, parents that may have been good parents, but just one reason or other, mental health, substance abuse, just could not parent.
Hmm.
And so I got attached to one of the kids on my caseload. You know, mom died, father was never around, grandparents just couldn't get it together. A lot of family members just couldn't take him. And his plan was just kind of age out of foster care. And it was sad. And we just kind of clicked. And he used to call me Mr. Joe all the time. And then one day he asked if I'd adopt him. And I remember I talk about it. I have a like a 5-part series about it on my social media. But I remember one of the department attorneys was like, "Okay, so he wants to be adopted. Cool. We're going to change his goal to adoption." I'm like, "Whoa, wait, wait, wait. I didn't say I was going to adopt him."
Yeah.
And she was like, "Well, it doesn't matter. He's open to the idea of adoption. So now we're going to start pursuing it." And thank God for open-minded attorneys like that, who's like, he's accepting to the idea. We're not going to close it off then. If that's a potential, we're going to explore it. Because the idea is always to find permanency for every kid. And then I just remember that at the time, the vice president of the company I worked for like pulled me into my office and she was like, "I don't believe in gays adopting, and I want you to stop this nonsense."
Wow.
It's like, is this real?
What year
And
was that?
this was 2011,
Okay, it's not that far.
15 years ago.
Exactly, yeah.
And I just I was shocked. And sometimes I think I don't know if you've ever experienced like racism or sexism or homophobia or something like that. Sometimes when it's happening directly in front of your face, like
Yeah.
you're almost not even aware. You're like, is this real? I think when you
Mm,
watch it like in a movie, there's like a build up or something, and you're like, okay, it's gonna happen. But like in real life, you're like, and I just didn't know what to say.
yeah.
And then I went to like my director and I was like, is this real? And she was just like, yeah, I mean, you can't adopt. And I was like, well, I can. You know, the appellate courts overturned it because in 2000, prior to 2010, it was illegal for a homosexual to adopt in the state of Florida.
Yeah.
Right on the application, it asked if you were, and if you said yes, you were denied. So there was this couple in Miami that was raising this little girl, and there was apparently the courts found no better placement than for this girl to be with this couple. And so the appellate court overturned it, and they were the first gay couple to adopt. And then I adopted like a year later, and I was the first single gay man to legally adopt in the state of Florida.
Wow.
I mean, they kept the case in my name on purpose because I couldn't pursue the adoption. I couldn't do my own home study. I couldn't pursue the case because I was the subject of the case. So then they transferred it to another person in the agency and they told him not to pursue it. And then I kept getting involved because he was, you know, right down the hall from where my office was. And then they actually transferred it to a whole nother company
Yeah.
to pursue it. And then I remember like the lead agency like called me and she was like, "Stand down, stop getting involved." And I was like, "I
Yeah.
will not. I absolutely will not." And everything was just, "Oh, well, you can't adopt a kid because you have a roommate. So you have to live alone if you're going to adopt this child, you know, and well, you can't, I don't know if your income is enough. Do you have other jobs? Because we won't be able to verify. We don't think you make enough money." And I was like, "Well, that seems more like your problem because you guys are the ones that pay me."
So did all of these challenges, barrier, put fire under you to actually to
Oh,
fit to
nonstop. I don't know where this comes from. I
yeah.
have this insane drive. You know, growing up, and my dad, and not to pick on him. He was a great dad as a child, but I think he was always afraid to make a decision.
Mhm.
He was always afraid to like commit to something. I mean, we had a very comfortable, steady life, you know, and he was like, "Don't rock the boat, keep everything good," and it just always made me feel. I'm like, push back a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, why be quiet? And so I think part of me, I like to do stuff because I feel like I saw what happened when you didn't.
Yeah.
And that my mother like raised us to be very tough. And so I think there's like this weird need to like, well, I have to prove myself because I'm not good enough. Because I was raised pretty tough that way. So I just feel this desire to like, no, we're gonna over challenge this. And I remember talking to him all the time, my son, and I was like, "Are you sure this is what you want? Because if this is what you want, I'll keep fighting. If you
Mhm.
don't want to do this, then I will stop." And he was like, "No, no, no, this is what I want." I was like, "Okay." So I mean, he saw the struggle nonstop. I mean, they wouldn't even let him move into the house. They wouldn't let him do like overnights with me. Like we had to do like day visits for a couple hours, and I'm like, "This is ridiculous. I work for you guys.
Yeah.
I've seen you do more for people with less credentials."
So how old was your son when you adopted him?
He was 17. I met him when he was 15. I adopted him at 17.
Yep.
It could have happened at 16. He's 32 now.
Oh my God.
I
Wow.
know. I tell him all the time. I was like, I'm your father at home, but in the streets, I'm your brother.
It's like I tell to my daughter, "Don't call me mom. I'm your sister."
Yeah, yeah, yeah. My
Yeah.
youngest son, he's 29. And when he was in high school, he was getting into wrestling. And so I was there with the wrestling matches. And I knew some of the moms just because I knew like his friends and their parents. And I believe, and I just want to keep it that way, like it's my business to tell if I adopt it. It's nobody else's business to tell that,
Yeah.
you know? So it's like when you walk in, you're like, this is my son. And someone's like, oh, adopted son. And I'm like, shut up.
Yeah.
Nobody says this is like your step, you know, this is the child from an interracial couple that you have. Like, just this is my son. Shut up.
Yeah.
So sometimes, so in high school, it was funny because some of the teachers were like, parent teacher night. They're like, what are you, his brother? And I'm like, that's fine. That's totally fine. Well, I'm his brother.
Joe, when you adopted, were you single at that point?
I've always been single. Yes, yeah, chronically single. I adopted, and then within the next like 2 years, I adopted two more.
Wow.
So it was, you know, I was single for a while. It was very difficult to date with teenage sons. And then when you tell somebody you have kids, they're like, "Oh, well, I'm not ready to be a father." And I'm like, "Well, I'm not asking you to
Yeah.
be a father. You can be daddy." No, I'm just kidding. But
Uh-huh.
and then when they meet their sons, they're like, "Oh, these are like grown teenage adults." And
Yeah.
then sometimes somewhere in their mind, it's, "Oh, well, you can leave them home for the weekend and we can go somewhere." Like that, where am I gonna? I like literally just adopted him like 2 years ago. I'm not leaving him alone for the weekend. Like
Yeah,
I
yeah, yeah.
barely leave this boy alone for the night with him without like catastrophe happening in the
Mm.
house.
Yeah, I think I can relate to this topic because when Oliver and I got divorced, Vivian was just 2 years old, and some of my friends they said, "Oh, now you'll struggle a lot to find someone because who is you're kind of not the best option now because you also
Yeah,
have
yeah, yeah,
and
exactly.
in London when there are so many options, right? Why would someone choose you?" And it was a little bit scary at one point to face the reality that
Well, and the
potentially that's true,
nonsense.
right?
I'm not sure if you experienced it too, but some of the nonsense that people would come up with, like,
Yeah,
well, I'll say like I have sons, and they're like, "Oh, okay, so you were married," and I was like, "Well, no," and it's weird watching the process of people's questions, and like, so you had sex with a woman? I was like, well, no, and they're like, so then where's your partner?
yeah,
And then when they see that like it's a teenage son, I've had a few people were like, so like, do you hook up with him?
mm,
And I'm like, are you high? Are you
yeah,
like, how dare you? Absolutely not. You know,
yeah,
how dare you? And it definitely weeds out a lot of the crazies at first. But I think when you have something that you have to tell people, and I think this could probably be true to people who, are living with a illness or disease and they feel comfortable enough, or even to tell somebody something very private. Because I
yeah,
look at like my adoption with my kids is private. That's not really something I'll post all over line, like their names or who they are.
yeah,
But it's like when you explain something private to somebody, the amount of questions and craziness that it spawns for some people, it really just is weird to watch.
yeah.
That I wonder if you had not divulged that information, if this person would show their true colors in the same way.
Yeah, of course. I can relate to many of this, and I think now it's quite interesting in my case. Every time she asks, like, "Where is my mommy?" or like questions like that, we always tell her all the truth straight away, right? What is
Mm,
surrogacy? Who is surrogate? Who is egg daughter, etc. And she's like has these questions like every year because she forgets
mm,
and then you kind of tell her again, and she's like, "Oh, okay," she absorbs that. But then she goes to society, to school, and for example, in a couple of weeks, it's Mother's Day, and she came back from school and she said to me like, "Everyone should have a mother." She said to me. I was like, "Okay, someone again told her at school, one of the classmates, right?
right, right,
Probably. Like, where is your
right.
mother?" Like, like, okay, we need to go through this again. It does hurt a little bit, right?
Sure.
Because you want to make sure that your child is happy and is not upset. Yeah, I have to go through this kind of every year.
That's interesting, and
Mm,
and I'm sure you will for a while. I mean,
yeah,
with my youngest son during his high school years, there was a lot of anger. He was angry about everything, and I one time we had a lot of times we had a huge argument. But in one of the arguments, I'm like, this is the one and only time I will apologize that your life isn't the way that you thought it was going to be,
yeah,
but get over it. this is how life is now. Like, I'm sorry that you don't have a mom and a dad in this house. I'm sorry that you're not with your biological family. This is, but like, there is nothing I can do about it. And we
Yeah.
have to accept that and move forward.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
it was
That
tough.
So that's what was my question. I'm just curious because you have this dad experience from teenage upwards, right? And
Oh my
I'm
God.
still having that
Yeah.
in the future. So I was wondering, okay, what should I prepare myself for? Like, she'll hate me for being gay, or she'll hate me
That's
for
funny.
stealing her mother.
I had a friend give me advice, and I've never wanted like littler kids unless I had like a partner. But I had a friend give me really good advice that stuck with me. They were like, make sure your house is the fun house. Make sure that your house is the house that they bring their friends to. This way you can monitor what's going on.
Mm,
You know what they're eating, you know what they're consuming, you know what games they're playing, and I
okay.
was like, interesting. So I made the house so welcoming that they always came here, always. So I did feel that I had my finger on the button a little bit just to like know what's going on, have an idea what's going on. God forbid if something happened under my roof that I wasn't aware of,
Yeah.
but it's to me, it was better than having them somewhere else. So their friends got so used to seeing me and their parents got used to meeting me and knowing me. So I do feel that like if that conversation came up of where's your mom, where's this, if for any reason my son felt uncomfortable or wasn't, their friends would jump in right away, like, oh, his dad's really cool, blah, 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 and they would help move the conversation forward. So maybe that would be what I would suggest too. Like the more familiar their friends and their circle that they're in are with the situation, the easier it'd probably be for her.
Oh, yeah, that totally makes sense. Some parents are like very accommodating and they're excited that their kids have friends with gay family.
Okay.
And but some parents are very kind of feeling a little bit uncomfortable, feeling a little bit like, what's going on here, especially,
Right.
fathers, dads. They're like, some of them are like, what's going on here? Will he hit on me, right? This kind of straight man's.
Oh, straight man.
Whoa, exactly.
Are
Uh,
you afraid you'll like it? Is that what the issue really is?
exactly that. And your children, how comfortable are they with you being gay, with you being on social media, because you have quite explicit Instagram, you showing off your
What?
wonderful body.
Um, I didn't do any of that while they were in high school. I do not. The most I have is like my shirt off, or I'm in a speedo promoting this pool party.
Yeah.
So I just, there's no type of like acts that I'm doing or spicy page or anything. So, but as in high school, I was concerned. So I did. I didn't actually get on social media until well after they graduated high school. So they're fine with it. I remember in high school, my youngest was like, I've noticed you've been single for a while, and me and some friends are trying to hook you up with somebody. And I was like, let me do me.
Yeah.
And you focus on you. But they're comfortable with it. I mean, they never had a problem with the gay or homosexuality thing. And even my years of working with kids in foster care, I have never met a kid who was like, I have a problem that you're gay.
Yeah.
I firmly believe hate is taught. And some kids are not in a place long enough to be taught hate. And at some point, they're like, I just want someone to love me and care for me and just genuinely be nice to me. And I think kids can spot authenticity.
Yeah, I agree. Joe, as we started touching upon your social media,
Okay.
what do you use this platform for?
I don't know. At first, I was like, this is my life. And I remember some friends were like, I like that you're finally out doing stuff. And I'm like, I always do stuff. This is just my first time like posting about it. So I just want to enjoy life and have a good time. And so like if I'm out doing something, I'm like, this is what I'm doing. Or if I had a great weekend, I'll do like a little video. I'm like, this was my weekend. And like we went to this place. And then I like to travel. So I always like to do a little video of like where I went, what we did, and like a little montage of it. But then a couple of years ago, I got linked up with One Magical Weekend. And at first they have two groups. One is the main party, One Magical Weekend, and then they have a subgroup for the bears called the
Okay.
Bear Jamboree. And the owners were like, would you like to be a bear ambassador? And I was like, I'm not a bear.
Hmm.
And they're like, that's fine. And so I started doing some like content promotions. And it was just for like free tickets. And I thought I was going to get in trouble. And then they messaged me and they're like, we really like your videos. Can you do more? And I was like, say less. And I like poured hot dog water on me. And I was like, if you want a bear, you got to use the right bait. And so, and
Uh-huh.
like some of it just like took off that they're like, okay, next year, could you be like our main bear ambassador. And I was like all over their posters and stuff. And I was like, I'm not a bear, but sure. And I was like, climbing on people, taking videos. Like, I love the bear community. And there's always food at these events. And then the new owner took over a little over a year ago, about a year and a half ago. And his name is Ethan, and he owns Pineapple Healthcare. And Pineapple Healthcare is, they have, I think, 5 clinics now already, but they do wellness, prevention, treatments. And I love it. Their whole idea is party with a purpose. So Ethan was like, great guy. And he was like, you're not a bear. And I was like, I know. And he's like, would you like to host them, be part of the main event? And I was
Yeah.
like, I would love that more than anything in the world. And so I do love that he was like, you have creative control of like your costume, your social media. However, like, I do have the power to veto it if we're like, take that down if
Yeah.
we don't like it. So I just kind of go crazy with the social media and have fun. And I just enjoy it. I used to come to this party even like before I started hosting it, and was like, just have come a bunch of times as a guest. And I just think it's really cool. I love the purpose. I love the message. So my social media is a little mix of like just my normal life and then promoting stuff. And now we're doing traveling events with One Magical Weekend. I just feel I'm very lucky, and I love that. And I'm very thankful and blessed.
So, for those who never heard about One Magical Weekend, can you explain us what it is?
Sure. This is our 18th year, so we're finally legal. And we're just essentially, it's a circuit party. And I think sometimes in the gay community, when you hear circuit party, I, my opinion, I feel like circuit party is a very particular group of gays.
Okay.
And I think they're like, oh, okay, we're going to be there with our harness and jock strap, and the music's going to go, and that's the whole night. And everybody's like on some kind of bender. This one's a little different because we do rent out Disney's Typhoon Lagoon. It's their big water park, and we throw a party at the water park.
Hmm.
And so everybody can come. Anybody can come, all body types, and it's welcoming there. And I do love that. And then we have a host hotel that we have for the weekend. So, people usually check in Friday. There's a pool party during the day at the hotel. Then that night is when we go to the water park, and we just have a blast. And we bring in like international domestic DJs. Everybody comes, and we have a great time. It's our biggest event. All the rides are open. And I just think it's the coolest thing when you and like 7,000 of your friends are at a water park having a blast at night. And it's specifically just for the gay community. And then the next day, we kind of do the whole thing all over again, day pool parties. And then we have a night party at Disney's House of Blues. And it's like a giant concert being thrown, and just go have a good time. Now, also, there's after parties at the hotel in their ballroom from like 2 in the morning until 8 in the morning.
Yeah.
Sure, do that. And if you want that full circuit experience, that's where you would find it. And then we do it all again on Sunday. And so like, it's just a 3-day party. But what's nice is you can pick and choose the events that you want to go to. Like as a guest, I used to go to the day pool parties the most. One, because it was more cost effective, and I like socializing. So you're out and about just talking with people and having a good time.
I've never been to Circuit Party,
Okay.
but I've been to Atlantis Cruise, so it's
Oh,
kind
you're
of sounds
close.
something like
There you
that.
go.
Yeah.
You just went to level 100, like
Yeah.
right away. How was that?
Oh, that was exactly what you said. It's sometimes positioned as something unhealthy in terms of
Right.
like it's a party, drugs, and a lot of sex, which can be, but it feels like everyone can choose what they want to do. If you want
Agreed.
to just do daytime events, go to have a dinner, literally explore towns and cities, you can do that.
Cool.
If you prefer to party all night long and be pounded by 10 guys, go for it, right? So there are options for everyone and for anything, if you know what I mean.
Agreed. Agreed. And I think that's what this party is. I don't judge. Go do your thing. Go have a good time. Everyone's welcomed. I just think it's a really fun experience. And it's nice to see people of all different body types, colors,
Yeah.
ages, and just be hanging out and intermingling. And it's so nice to see people that are like, oh, we just became friends from One Magical Weekend, or we just did this, or we did that. So it's really cool. Plus, like, you get to go to Disney too if you want.
But do you observe that there are some people who are struggling with socialization, struggling with like meeting people? What are your thoughts on this?
100. I love socializing 100%. And I've been doing a lot of videos about it lately because so many people and friends have been coming to me saying, like, how do you just meet people? And I was like, you literally could just turn around and meet somebody. And I think it comes down to like moments of confidence. For example, like I think all of us at some point in our life has been hit on by somebody, and it makes you feel good, or you go to approach somebody. And I think we've all had that experience where it didn't go so well, or it did go well, and that boosts the confidence. So
Yep.
I think there's critical moments And I remember years ago, and I think this could have gone either way, but a friend was like, what's different for you? You could go and, say hi and talk to anybody you want. I was like, that's not even a thing. That doesn't even happen in real life. And he was like, I prove it. And he goes, here, speak to that person, the next person who walks by you. And this guy, and I just tapped on his shoulder. I was like, hi, excuse me. And I was like, hi, what's your name? And he said his name. And I was like, I think you're really handsome. Like, could I get your number? And he was like, sure. And he gave it to me. And then I was like, "Oh, I'll call you tomorrow." And then I looked at my friend and he was like, see? And I was like, okay, that was a bad example. But in a weird way, that clicked something in my head. And that was a huge moment of confidence for me that I was like, it's really that simple. I
Hmm.
don't know what people are so afraid of. And yes, it's happened in the other way where people have been like, I don't want to talk to you. No, I'm not interested. No, thank you. But for whatever reason, I think that moment where I had that first moment of confidence has superseded everything else. And so that's kind of where I have rested my hat of like, this is where I want to sit with my confidence.
Yeah.
So that's why if somebody like rejects me, I don't feel so taken back by it because I'm like, whatever, it's okay. There's more. So I try and do a lot of videos for people that I think have social anxiety and don't feel comfortable talking to somebody. I think it's very scary because in
Yeah.
your mind, you're thinking worst case scenario. But if somebody puts their hand up to your face and they're just like, I don't want to talk to you, I think you're ugly. And that has got to be the most hurtful thing ever. I would probably break somebody's fingers if they did something like that to me. But I like talking about socializing because I think there's like an art to it, and most people are missing a couple steps and they're going right to a third step.
And do you have any like template of how to, I don't know, approach someone at the party?
I
What
do.
works, what doesn't work?
I do. So this has been, to me, this has worked the most in my life of everything. I think there's three steps to meeting somebody. And I think step one has to be nonverbal communication, which comes down to eye contact.
Hmm.
So if I see somebody that's cute across the room, I need to see them and they need to see me. I need to like do a head nod, a wave, a smile, and I need some kind of reciprocation back where they're like, hey, even if they're confused of like, why is this guy waving to me? There needs to be an acknowledgement of each other's existence
Hmm.
because I feel most people say, well, I want someone to hit on me and be like, hey, I saw you. I think you're cute. I'd like to get to know you. What's your name? What's your Instagram? And I'm like, how long have you been watching me? Like, I feel that throws people off so much because they're like, who are you?
Yep.
So I think number one is there has to be a nonverbal acknowledgement of each other's existence.
Okay.
And then you have to back away for a moment.
Hmm.
When you back away and you come and see them again, that's where I would do some kind of indirect conversation, like, what are you drinking? I'm drinking this. Do you like sweet drinks? Do you like harder drinks? Oh, I like your shirt. Where'd you get it? Like, it can't be about you. Oh, you look really pretty. Oh, I think your body's great. Oh, I think this. Like, I think that's too aggressive.
Okay.
So it has to be like an indirect conversation about something unrelated to them specifically. And maybe two or three cents. Oh, I like to do this, or like, this is what I like. Oh, okay, cool. I got to pee. I'll be right back.
Yeah.
Or like, you see a friend and you're like, hey, and then you leave. I think now that's twice that person has seen you.
Yeah.
And I think socializing is so critical to familiarity.
Yeah.
When you see somebody at the gym, you'll probably never speak to them at the gym until you see them out in public.
Okay.
And then they'll, oh my God, hey, how are you? It's good to see you. I'm like, I've never
Yeah.
talked to you much, but I'm so familiar to you that you're happy to see me because now you feel you have a friend or a dog in the fight or something.
Makes
So then
sense.
now the third time I see them, I'm going to be like, hey, I'm sorry. I saw you a couple times tonight. My name's Joe. What's your name? It's a pleasure to meet you. And usually we are good to go after that. And we get their social, their Instagram, their TikTok, whatever, and we start communicating right after there.
Hmm.
I've learned that method is the easiest way to meet somebody.
And then, for example, you are at the bar or party, whatever, and then you exchange your Instagrams, right?
Hmm.
And then you're like, oh, I'm coming back to my friends because you came over with your friends, right? And then the
Hmm.
next day you reach out on Instagram saying, hi, it was nice to meet you, blah, blah, blah,
Yep.
right? Is that the
Yeah.
scenario?
When you hook something, you got to reel it in. And so, sometimes that night before I go to sleep, I write like, hey, it was great meeting you tonight.
Yeah.
I'll follow up with you tomorrow. But I think you have to play that very carefully. If I want them to text me, then I'll say, text me tomorrow.
Hmm.
If I'm not going to break that. In my mind, I'm going to say, I said, text me tomorrow. So I'm going to wait for them to text me. I'm
Yeah.
not going to bombard them. But if I feel like I don't know if they're flaky or not, then
Hmm.
I'll put the ball in my court. Hey,
Yeah.
I'll give you a text tomorrow during the day and say, hey.
Makes
And
sense.
that's also okay too for people who are like have a lot of social anxiety. It's also okay to put the ball in your court and say, "I'll text you tomorrow. I'll follow up with you in 2 days. I'll do this." If you are terrified, then give yourself the power and the control.
Yeah, yeah. It's interesting how different cultures are in the US versus the UK. I think here it's a little bit one of the quite big difference here is smoking. So people here
Okay.
smoke outside. So for example, you've made eye contact and you chatting a little bit, but then you literally take them out for to smoke.
Okay.
They don't need to smoke, but just like they do want to get some fresh air, and then you can have a like a bit more conversation when you're in the smoking area because it's not that
Okay.
loud, and then you can swap Instagrams or whatever, right? So you are like, dedicating a little bit more time to each other outside of the pub, outside of the bar when you're in the smoking area.
I
So
would love to miss that.
yeah, in America, I think not many people smoke in general.
No, and in a lot of bars, it's illegal to smoke in bars. I can't remember the last time somebody was like lit up a cigarette.
Yeah, fair
Yeah.
enough. Joe, you mentioned gyms. Any tips on how to approach someone at the gym?
My friends call me the straight guy whisperer because they all come and talk to me. But I think it's the same thing. It's just a longer process. I think one of the easiest ways to socialize is familiarity. So if you don't go to the gym, maybe there's a restaurant, maybe there's a coffee shop, maybe there's a bar that you go to. But if you go consistently at a certain time or a certain day, people will start picking up on the pattern and you become familiar to them. And it's easier for somebody else to approach you because now you're familiar. So I usually go and then I just like always have like a permanent smile on my face. It's very rare to catch me. Like my normal resting face is this.
Okay.
So it's it's pretty easy. So most people are like, if I like look at somebody, I'm usually smiling when I'm looking at them, even if
Hmm.
I'm like in a daze, and then they might feel uncomfortable. And I'm just very extroverted. So if I notice someone's uncomfortable, I'm like, oh, hey, sorry, I'm like somewhere else. And usually they're like, it's okay. And that smile, I mean, within 2 days, they're gonna be like, hey, how you doing? Fist bump, what's up? Blah blah blah. And so usually they initiate it because they're so familiar with seeing my face.
Yeah.
Um, I just made friends with somebody the other day at the gym and we swapped Instagram and he was like, I'm really shy and nervous. Like, thank you for like coming over to say hi. Like, I know we've said hi and bye for like a month now. And I was like, yeah, it's okay. And he was just like, I see you talking to like everybody. So I figured you were like a real friendly person. He's like, I'm just not that extroverted. I'm like, it's cool. And like now we're cool. But it took like a month of saying just like hi, bye to like, okay, what's your name?
Joe, so you've mentioned as a gay dad, sometimes we have challenges with dating. Yeah. Are you dating? Are you open for dating? What's your story?
Actually, yeah, I've currently been seeing somebody and he's great. Honestly, I there's like no red flags. And probably what I like best about him is that he is even though he has his moments of insecurity, like we all do, in general, he's very confident, especially like for what I do, like traveling around and being like the face of a circuit party and being shirtless online and people coming up to me and they're like, oh, I saw you online. Tell me about the party.
Mhm.
Um, None of that phases him, which is great because I don't have to explain shit to anybody about like what I do. But I'm also
Yeah.
an open book. In general, whenever I am looking to date or meet somebody, confidence is everything. If I feel like you could tell within the first week or two of spending time with somebody if they're their level of confidence, and if it's not at a level that I'm like I'm not going to deal with constant. And so you go, well, why are you going to that party again? Why are you doing this? What? Make sure, blah blah. Don't tell me what to do.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
and I'm not paying for somebody else's mistakes.
Hmm.
So maybe you couldn't trust your ex, but your ex isn't me. And
Yeah.
so I'm starting with a clean slate. I'm not starting saying, I see a lot of people online that are like, oh, if you're going to date me, you have to prove yourself, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, dude, you're a walking red flag and you don't even realize it.
Yeah.
It's everybody starts with a clean slate. Hi, how are you? What's your name? Like, I don't ask your body count. I don't ask, your past is your past. We'll talk about, like, tell me about your ex. Tell me about this. I also want to judge how people talk about their past relationships because if everybody you dated was trash, it seems like you like to be in the trash a lot. Like
Yeah.
that to me, that's your issue. That's not my issue.
Yeah.
I don't. Even though I've had some exes and it didn't work out, I would never consider any of them trash,
Mm.
and never. Like I don't date trash. It just
Yeah.
didn't work out for one reason or another. But they're not trash people.
Yeah.
And
No.
so I look for a lot of confidence, and I watch how people talk about their exes and their past, and that those are my things immediately for like red flags if we're moving forward or not.
Yeah, I'm with you on this.
I,
Uh,
I think that's a tough one, especially
yeah,
well, especially like you and your ex are so close,
yeah,
and have kids, have a company. Like, imagine somebody being like, "I don't like that you talk to your ex. I don't give a shit what you like. Like, this is part of my life, and
yeah.
it's like it's you can get on board or get out. But like, do you see a threat or are you creating a threat?
Hmm.
If there's no threat, so whatever is happening, you're imagining this, and I am not going to be held accountable for your imagination.
Yeah, I agree. Joe, what is the biggest challenge gay men are facing right now?
Keep in mind for anybody listening out there, like this is just my opinion. So
Yeah.
like that, like I have no statistics to back this up. It's just my opinion. One will always be a thing as it relates to gay men is body image.
Hmm.
Um, how I think I look based on how the rest of the world thinks I look. I live, you know, 3 hours away from Miami. Here in America, I believe Miami is like the mecca of beautiful people and
Okay.
hot bodies. And wherever you're from, you could be, a 9 wherever you are. But when you go to Miami, you're a 3. So body image. But then I also think of finding your tribe is the moment. You might want to be like super masculine, but you like putting on a miniskirt sometimes and going to the bar and just being treated like you're the princess. And
Yeah.
I think sometimes a lot of gay men feel like, well, no, I have to be only in one box. And I'm like,
Hmm.
there's so many boxes. There's a whole world of gays. And I think it took a long time for me to find my tribe, because I went through a phase where I had like the long hair, I had the glitter on me. I had to like, am I supposed to get my nails done? Am I not supposed to get my nails done? And like, where do I fit in? Because I think sometimes you see the almost the playing of the fool where people wear their gayness on their sleeve and they're ultra gay and everything is like girl this and girl that. And if that's not your thing, that's okay. But then you also have that far extreme where it's like, well, I'm super masculine. Like if I even see that you have like hair dye in your hair, we can't be together. Like, don't
Hmm.
you dare tweeze your eyebrows. Everything needs to be now. I need to see a beard because that makes you masculine. Like, also, girl, calm down.
Yeah.
So I think to me at the moment the biggest challenges are like trying to find your tribe and where you feel you fit in, and then making your friend group there, where you could have multiple boxes and you can have multiple circles of friend groups, and that's okay. You can have your masculine moments, you can have your feminine moments, you can have your pup moments if you want. Like, just find your tribes, and that's okay. And body image, I think you just have to be accepting of your body, and also don't feed into the negativity and the hate. Just because your body is not to somebody else's standards, that doesn't mean that you have to change your body. Like, I
Yeah.
don't compete. I don't get jealous of anybody else. That's never been a thing. I'm never envious of it. I'm like, damn, you have nice calves or something like that. But I'm not like, oh, I wish my calves look like your calves. Well, like, my calves are my calves. I can only work with what God gave me, so
Okay. Uh-huh.
I don't know where that came from in my life, but like, you just have to compete with yourself, and that's it.
And you said that you compare yourself, for example, with boys in Miami, right?
Mhm.
But isn't it like never-ending story then? So you'll
Always.
always have, yeah. But
Always. I see those memes all the time where like it's like a little cartoon character and it's like, I think you're hot. And it's like this little like stick figure guy like going to this muscle guy at the gym. And the muscle guy at the gym's like, oh, you're not. And then the stick figure guy works out. And then like 2 frames or 3 frames later, the muscle guy is now hitting on the stick figure guy because now he's muscular. Hey, you're hot. You want to go out on a date? Like, I don't know. I think to be young, rich, attractive, good personality, isn't that the dream?
doesn't it become a bit toxic?
It can.
Yeah.
It
So,
can be. But I also, and I, don't hate on me for this. Like, we also need shame.
okay.
Some people need to be humbled a little bit.
Hmm.
And sometimes it needs to be like, yeah, you don't have the best abs in town. Yeah, you don't. I'm going to say this because he'd be okay with it. His name's Yabi. I love him. He is one of like the executives of One Magical Weekend. And he has told me so many times, he's like, Joe, it's the body's fine. Your face, that's what the problem is. And I was like, damn. He's like, that's why you're not on magazines. And damn it, man, he makes me laugh so hard. But like, sometimes you just need to be humbled. Like, you're not the hottest thing in the world, and that's okay. And that's okay. and stop trying to be like, just you be you and you just be the best version of you. But damn it, he makes me laugh.
I wonder where is the healthy way out of it, and I'll
Oh,
explain
right.
myself. So,
Well, when you figure that out, you can make millions.
no, in the way that, for example, when Oliver and I were together for 7, 8 years, right, we were completely off scene. You're not on Grindr to kind of prove yourself or to be chosen. You're not on social media to show
Nailed
yourself,
it.
etc.
Right.
So you literally live like a normal life, and you're not looking for anything, right? For body validation or to find anyone for a relationship. And that's when it's like a very calm and peaceful, happy life.
For
And
sure.
when we got divorced, that's where all craziness started, right? You're again back on the market. And now
Yeah.
you're also not 23 anymore. You're now 33, right? So now
Yeah.
it's even more effort, like to look good, face, body, etc.
Everything.
Yeah,
Without, there's that fine line of confidence and cocky and delusion,
yeah,
where people want you to be confident, not cocky, because then you're arrogant,
yeah.
not delusional, because then you're crazy. It's such a fine balance to find it. But yeah, you're 100% right.
So quite interesting topic, at least for me, which is, Joe, can you tell us a little bit about your company?
Yes. So my company is called YOLO Mentoring, and I started it in 2012. And I started it because I noticed there were certain issues that my son was having after I adopted him. And I felt that I wanted to create a service that would bridge the gap between teenagers and adults. And so I didn't reinvent the wheel, but I created a mentoring program. And so we mentor kids, and I have some contracts with the child welfare agencies, and we specifically work with kids in child welfare. I'm currently working on a contract to get involved with the Department of Juvenile Justice to work with juvenile offenders. But we focus on four goals, which is social skills, which is something that I feel I excel at, education, which doesn't necessarily mean academics, but I think everything in life is teachable, vocational training. I do think kids at a teenage age should know how to fill out a job application. I know I get a lot of arguments of, well, they should know how to do a resume, or I think you guys call it a CV.
Yeah,
But to me, I'm like, what would they put on it? Nothing. Like, if you don't know, your date of birth, your social, your street address, or, what days you can work in a week, then you have no business writing a resume or a CV. Like, let's work on mastering the art of a job application. And then community service, because there's a lot of kids due to their age or the nature of their crime can't do community service. So we help them and we do it with them. But I love our program. We've worked with over 10,000 kids in the past 14 years, and I still get text messages and phone calls on Father's Day for kids that I've worked with for years that are like, just I would say Happy Father's Day. I think of you as like a second father to me.
oh wow.
And I love it. And we are franchising and we're expanding. So we've sold our first franchise. But I'd love at some point to go like international and really just take help on such a macro level of working with kids and teenagers.
Wow, this job feels like so much. It has so much purpose, right? And you feel you're getting feedback straight away from all of the
Yeah,
gratitude
well,
of the
you're right.
kids.
You're right. It's immediate feedback. We work with, and we don't discriminate with kids. We work with sexual predators. We work with sexual victims, mental health, physical, medical issues. And sometimes it's tough. And sometimes they'll say, "Well, do you only place male mentors with male kids?" Well, no, but also it depends. Like, we work with the therapist, we work with the case manager. What's best? Sometimes you'll have a teenage girl that had an adult male with very poor boundary issues, and that teenage girl doesn't know how to interact with an adult male properly. And sometimes in a structured environment, like a mentoring program, we can help rewire what a proper adult male and teenage minor relationship looks like. Hey, do you want to get some ice cream? Do I have to do anything for that ice cream? You don't have to do anything you want other than say thank you, yes or no. That is it.
Wow.
And we can say, and okay, I'd like some ice cream. Perfect. You have the right to say yes or no at any time in your life. Don't ever feel that you don't have the power. And so a lot of times that rewiring, and I've had kids say to me, Mr. Joe, I wish you were my boyfriend. And I train my mentors too when I'm like, if and when that happens, that's when I
Yeah,
stop them. I think you're confused. Let's be clear. I'm an adult male and you're a minor child, and that would be completely inappropriate. I think
yeah,
you're confusing with kindness with intimacy, and those are two
yeah,
separate things. And then I usually, teach them like, I think if you think about it, we have a friendship. We give a high five, maybe you'll get a hug on your birthday, but like we have a friendship, and this is a professional friendship. And I think if you think about it, you'll realize this is exactly where it needs to be, and it doesn't need to be anywhere more. And what I taught that kid was rejection. but in a proper way. And I swear to you, like 9 out of 10 times, the very next week when I see that kid again, they're like, "Mr. Joe, I like our friendship. I wouldn't change anything." And in my mind, like they have processed it and then they've followed up with it, and we are good. And I just think those are such good teachable moments.
Wow.
I think socializing and human behavior is so important. I don't know. It's so cool to me. It's so fascinating. So I love doing it, and I love working with social
Yeah.
work.
Well, more importantly, I hear how passionate you are about it. So,
Thank you. Well,
yeah.
thank you. Thank
Um,
you.
Joe, thank you so much. It was a pleasure. Um,
Thank you.
all of our viewers and listeners will see the links to your social media.
I'm hoping to do a collaboration with Friends of Dorothy and one magical weekend in London, and let's do a big wellness and socializing event.
Let's do it. Amen. Thank you, Joe.